Good morning, Illini. Welcome back to Healthy Illini Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Schrock, as always, and we're glad you're with us. We're rolling into the end of the semester here in fall 24, and I hope you're doing well. Hope things are lining up for you, and we're glad you joined us. And we want to talk a little bit about that end of semester idea, and so I'm excited to get into the topic we have today. I'm joined today with three guests. Our first is a repeat guest. Bree has been with us on a number of episodes. If you go back through our archive, you can find her there. But Bree Whitted is one of our dietitians here at McKinley Health Center. So Bree, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And with Bree, she has brought two of her grad assistants. They're both grad assistants to the dietitians we have here at McKinley working in the health ed department. And first up, we have Karina Rivera. She is a third-year nutrition science graduate, studying nutrition science,
Correct.
and her third year. And actually, at the time of this recording, is just about done. Like at the end of this week, she's turning in her thesis.
Yay, you're rooting for me.
But thank you for taking the time out of what I'm sure is a stressful week.
I appreciate the invitation. Thank you for having me as well.
And with Karina, another grad assistant is Leah Hofert. She is in her first year, and she is community and clinical nutrition. So, Leah, thanks for being here.
Of course, happy to be here.
So, as Healthy Illini is a program that primarily focuses on college students and that college student experience, over the past few years that we've had episodes, we've talked a lot about finals week because if you're a college student, no matter how you look at it, that end of semester is a big deal. And it often comes with a lot of stress. Exactly. And so, whether it be the exams, the change in schedule, because everything kind of shifts at that end of semester, that feeling of weariness from going through the semester, you've gone, 13 weeks, whatever it is. Now you're at the end, you're tired. All these things are very present every semester. And so we're aware of that. And we try and give tips and ideas on how to lessen that stress. And we've had conversations previously about stress management, study tips, sleep tips, exercise tips. We've hit all those kinds of areas. We really haven't talked about nutrition as far as finals prep. Now, if you do want to know those other episodes, check out our archive, go back, they're there, you can find them, take a look at it. But today we are talking mainly about nutrition and how that can play a factor, what you can do to help yourself during that finals week and help that turn into a positive for you, where sometimes it can be a negative. We know college students don't always take the best care of themselves, and when things get tight, certain things fall down the wayside, and our eating habits are one of those.
I don't blame them.
And it can be difficult to balance that. And so I wanted you to come here to talk about meal prepping, because that's a really cool option. That's an idea that it can be really helpful during those stressful weeks around finals. But let's just start there, because someone listening may not know what meal prepping is. They may not have an idea what we're talking about. They may have heard the term, but they really don't have an understanding what it is, especially, students are first time on their own. They're cooking for themselves. They moved into an apartment. Hey, I've got a kitchen. Now what do I do with my kitchen? That kind of idea. And so let's just start there. If you would, just explain a little bit what meal prepping is and kind of why it's a good thing.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Okay. So meal prepping is basically a practice or a strategy that you can incorporate into your daily life, in which you meal prep in advance your meals for 3 or 4 days in advance, to save time, save money, and also having a healthier diet or meal ready to go whenever you need it. So it's an easy way and quick to have your meals prepped for the week.
I would say meal prepping is kind of an umbrella term because it means something different to everyone. For me, meal prepping is just mentally getting myself prepped for the week and mentally planning what I'm going to eat that week, so it's mapped out a little bit and there's a little less stress on figuring it out the day of. So it can kind of look different to everyone. So it's either prepping the ingredients a few days in advance, packing your lunch the night before, making sure you're having enough leftovers that will carry you through the 3 or 4 days, that kind of thing. I think meal prepping definitely looks different with each individual.
I really appreciate that, because we talk a lot on this program, every episode, that you're on an individual journey. You have commonalities with other people. There's things that this is the same for me, but there's a lot of things that, this is different for me. And so with any kind of study habits or even sleeping habits, there's an element of individualism and finding what works best for you. So I appreciate that comment because I'll be honest, when I think meal prep, I think, okay, I've got my 6 Tupperware things set out. I'm going to make it. I'm going to put it into
Tupperware
separate portions, put it in there and freeze it, which can be meal prepping, but it could also be where I make a meal and then I do, say, the leftovers for later. And so I appreciate that there's variety in what you can do with meal prepping. Karina, you talked about that it saves time in that, but it takes time to make it, to do the planning as well. Do you feel like that balance is, even though it takes a little extra time to do the preparation, that saves in the long run? What experience have you had in that in your own?
Well, it depends on each individual, as Leah said. In the past, I have meal prep for 3 to 4 days, cooking for 3 to 4 hours one day. For example, I cook my grains, I cook my protein, I cook my veggies. I'm sure that I'm buying enough fruits for the week, and I have some dairy, and then I meal prep all the foods that I want to eat. At this point of my life that I'm finalizing my thesis, I don't have time to do that. And it's also therapy for me to cook. So what I do is, every day after coming back from college, I cook my meal for the night and for the next day. So as Leah again said, it's an umbrella term. And there are some moments in your life, some stages that you can meal prep one day or twice per week for 3 to 4 days. But in stressful times like me at this moment, I don't have time to do that. So I just do whatever works for me best. And it's like cooking every night for the night meal and for the lunch meal for the next day.
And I know there's moments like in my own life that some nights with my kids and activities, I just don't have time to cook, period. And so it does give me that peace of mind that, okay, this week I need to prep for these days, and this week I have this flexibility on these other days. And so it does help with that. And that translates directly over to study habits and study opportunity during finals, where you may say, on this day, I can cook a little bit, but on this day, I've got 3 exams. There's 3 exam periods. I've got 3 exams on this day. I'm not going to have a lot of time to do anything else. So I'm going to prepare ahead. That gives me that peace of mind that I can just set it aside, not worry about it, because I've already taken care of it. So that's another benefit of meal prepping on that.
You said that it saves time, and I think that it's an important thing to consider. Like, you might not feel like you have a lot of time to meal prep, but also that time that you're dedicating to meal prep is going to save you time in the long run, in terms of, like, you're going to be able to study better if your belly is full and you're not disturbing everyone in the quiet area of Granger with your belly grumbling. You're going to be able to get to class quicker because you are fueled, and you're going to be able to focus more. So, like, it's kind of like, I like to think of things as the risk worth the reward. I know it's not risky to meal prep, but it's like, is this 20 minutes where I could make myself a sandwich even though I need to finish this project? That 20 minutes is going to save me a lot of time / like make me feel better for the next day. So,
well, and we don't live in a vacuum. Everything is interconnected.
Yeah. So
you're talking about if you're full, you're able to, you have more energy, you can move quicker, you can think better, you can retain things better. It's not just about, I need food to survive. It's how it impacts everything else. And the same thing with everything else, where I need to get sleep so that I can be awake, so that I can meal prep, and remember things. So everything is interconnected. So that, absolutely.
But at the end is to learn how to prioritize. Eating is how do you say that? Biological need. And you need to eat in order to function. So even though you may think, hey, those 20 minutes that I'm investing making this sandwich are stealing my time to study for this final that I'm having, it's worth it, because you need to fuel your brain and your body in order to function accordingly. And this can be applied to any aspects of your life. Like when you're sleeping, you need to sleep in order to function well the next day, in order to exercise, in order to think, in order to do everything you have to do during your life. So we need to learn how to make smart choices that in the long term helps us to be proactive and function well.
So we've talked about what meal prepping is. But let's say somebody's listening, they're like, this is a good idea. I really like this, but I've never done anything like this before. I have no idea where to start.
That's not for everybody. That's true.
How do you begin? Where would you even start if somebody wanted to try and meal prep? What would be some first steps to even attempt it?
Baby steps.
Sure.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I would say if you're not used to meal prep, try to pick simple recipes. For example, this podcast is for college students. Let's give you a dorm-friendly recipe, like a yogurt parfait or parfait yogurt, whatever you say it. Sorry. If you live in a dorm, something easy that you can make and starting meal prepping is like buying yogurt, make it like adding some bananas, adding some berries, some chocolate chips if you like a sweet taste, or maybe some honey, and putting some peanut butter maybe as well, because you are adding protein, you're adding your dairy, you're adding your fruits. So that's a simple way to start. And you don't have to cook anything, you just have to chop and add everything in a bowl. So it's a simple recipe. If you have some experience cooking, maybe you can make a burrito. Maybe buy some pre-cooked rice, put it on the microwave, add some chicken, add some cheese, and then you will have a wrap or a burrito. You can have the vegan option or the animal protein source.
I think something that has helped me is making lists. I always thought I was above making lists to go to the grocery store, because I'm like, I can walk through the aisles and figure out what I want. But also, I make myself sit down. I go on my phone. I go in the notes. And I'll just go through the grocery store mentally and kind of map out what I want, because I go around the grocery store on the outside. And I get the produce. And that kind of breaks it down for me a little more, kind of punny, digestible. But that helps me a lot. I also, when I'm, doing my doom scrolling on my phone, and I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I find recipes that I like. This is actually an idea I stole from Brie. I just save it in my notes. I save the link, or I save it in the folder on Instagram. And then when I'm about to go to the grocery store, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw that recipe for a one-pot meal that was minimal ingredients. I'm going to get the ingredients for that for my next week or my grocery store trip. And that has helped me a lot, because it's expanded my meals, but it's also, I like to think of things, what would help future me, because she didn't do anything wrong. She needs as much help as she can get. So making a list is like, it seems minuscule, but it's also makes things so much easier to work through.
Well, and if we're talking about, time management during finals, like, I'm a list guy when I grocery shop. I'm not a huge list guy all the time, but when I grocery shop especially, I've got it, and like, I'm nerdy enough that I go to Walmart on my way home a lot of times, that I have a sheet that has what particular items I usually get and what aisle it's in, so I can even put it in, in order. I'm that kind of nerd. But
you should share that format. That might be beneficial.
But so it's one of those things that, like, I can get in and out of a grocery store. If I have a list, I can get out pretty quick. If I don't have the list, that's going to double my time, but easily.
And also, following that line, when you're creating a list, instead of thinking about what are you going to buy, check on your pantry and your fridge, what do you have already?
Yeah.
So that way you will save in money, which is also one of the reasons that you're meal prepping.
Yeah, because I've done that too. If saying in the grocery store, I'm like, I need rice. Do I still have rice? Do we still have enough rice?
Exactly.
How much rice do I have? And then I get home and I have way too much rice.
And that also reduces food waste.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
So that's a great tip, is to make your list and go and start there, find out what you want. So now,
Matt, can I add one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of times I'll tell students to create, like I do it myself, create a meal list, like meals that our family likes to have. So we have a list of like breakfast ideas, lunch and dinner ideas, and they might be as basic as toast with avocado and a hard-boiled egg. Like things that you would think like, oh yeah, that'll come to me. But sometimes I go brain dead when I go to the grocery store, and so I'll reference that list before I make my grocery list and like, okay, what are 3 or 4 things that we want to have for breakfast this week, guys? Like, here's our options. So then we don't feel like we're stuck to, like, on Monday I'm going to have this, on Tuesday I'm going to have this. We've got a couple different options to kind of pull from.
And you can say that on your notes, so you will have it on hand when you go to the grocery store.
And we're talking about, prepping ahead of time. There's even some, depending on the recipe, if you freeze something, you could be not just a couple days out, you could be, a week out, 2 weeks out, whatever. If you make a meal and then freeze it, it's just a matter of finding the recipes that work for that. But like you said, there's a lot of variety and a lot of options there that you can do on those things. So again, because we're talking specifically to college students and focusing mainly on final exam preparation, one thing I wanted to ask about is, do you have any suggestions? I'm sure you do, because you're all dietitians and working in nutrition spaces. And what advice do you have on what foods are good to, like, if you're looking for a recipe, somebody said, okay, I'm gonna meal prep, I'm looking for a recipe here, but I'm looking at finals, brain health, energy, memory, these kinds of things. What foods or ingredients do you have recommendations for that'd be good to look for in a recipe for your meal prep?
Can I start? Okay. Sorry. I have a great idea, which I have been doing a lot lately. I love pizza, and I'm sure everybody loves pizza. So I just buy the pizza already made, which is pre-made, and I just add a lot of toppings like mushrooms, broccoli, more cheese because why not? I add artichokes because I love them, ground turkey if I cook shrimp or cook some, chicken, I add it as well. And you will have an easy recipe to start with meal prepping that you don't have to worry about, and then you don't even have to cook it. You just put it in the oven and that's it. And you just wait for 30 minutes. That's an easy and delicious recipe that I highly recommend to everybody do.
I have noticed, I haven't noticed, but one thing I love to have on deck, this isn't a meal, but it's just thinking in advance, nuts, because nuts are healthy fats. They are good for brain health. I'm sure Brie can probably elaborate more on that. But that's something I really like to have on deck because it's perfect for if I'm studying and I need a quick snack. I know I'm helping out my body and my brain by eating my little to-go thing of nuts.
And especially if you're a stress eater, like I sometimes am, and it's better to have something like that on hand than my M&Ms that are going to, just that comfort of, okay, I'm going to eat something, but
and also
it can be so much help. It can be so much more helpful to have something healthy on hand for that, and be prepared for that.
And having something crunchy, only the sound makes you decrease the cravings. So that's a good idea as well. And you can add some chocolates. So
yeah, chocolate's actually one of them that I would throw in, especially dark chocolate. It has components to it, but can actually help with stress, anxiety, reduce some of that.
Boost your energy.
Yeah, increase your happiness. Of course, consumed in moderate amounts. It's not a dinner. Berries are another thing that have a lot of antioxidants, a lot of flavonoids that come from those rich, colorful hues in them that will be beneficial for the brain. Leah mentioned healthy fats, so she mentioned nuts. I would also throw in
edamame.
Yeah.
The crunchy
fatty
ones.
cuts of fish, flax seeds kind of fall into that too, avocados.
Chia seeds.
Yeah, and those are all good components too for increasing satisfaction. So when you first asked the question, Matt, how would you go about it? Where would you kind of start? My first suggestion for students is always to think about what your protein sources are going to be, because those typically will take the most effort or the most thought around them. They don't have to always be cooked meat, but it can be Greek yogurt, it can be cottage cheese, it can be like Karina mentioned, edamame if you're looking for more vegetarian based options. But if you're going to cook meat, it's typically going to take time to
defrost.
Thaw it out, marinate it, cook it. And then also thinking about options that you could keep on hand, staple wise, canned beans, canned tuna, canned chicken. Those are options that you could pull out really easy during a busy week if you don't have meat thawed, if you come home and you don't have time to cook it.
Yeah, and having that variety. I really like that you listed off a lot of protein that wasn't meat, because often if you grew up in the Midwest, you go to meat first. That's just chicken and potatoes. That's where I grew up. But there are so many options out there, so much variety that you can do, and you can get creative with that. So with that idea of being creative, and Karina's already touched on this a little bit, but because again, somebody's listening, they're like, I want to try this, but I'm just not really sure where to start. And if you get online, you can search, meal prep recipes, and you find 1,000 of them. But that's 1,000 recipes you're trying to figure. It can be daunting, right? You get on there and I love when I'm looking for a recipe and I'm like, I put in easy recipe, and they're like, oh, this is easy. You marinate this, and then you do this, and you chop that, and you throw it in. I'm like, no. This your easy and my easy are not the same kind of words are not the same.
I don't have time for that.
I don't have time to deal with that. I don't even know how to do some of that stuff. So if you were going to give somebody some advice and just throw one out there, what are some of your favorite meal prep recipes, ones that you're like, this is my go-to, this is my staple, this is a great place to start?
Overnight meat oats. And I want to also highlight that go visit our Instagram profile, the UIUC Nutrition Peers, because we have great ideas of meal prepping, recipes, topics related to nutrition, so you can find really good ideas there.
And we will list that in the bio. So if you're listening, you heard that, check out the Instagram. It will be listed in the bio of this episode.
And we have overnight oats, recipe there so that you can check it out. And it's easy, simple to do. It doesn't have a lot of ingredients. And you can do it in your dorm, in your house. And you can prep that in advance as well, like doing multiple bowls of overnight oatmeals. It's super easy. And it's budget friendly. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. One thing for me this semester has been an absolute game changer with my foods is frozen meals are my friends. I don't have time. I'm at the library until 8 p.m. and I get home and I'm starving, but I'm like, I need to eat and I want to fuel my body. So I get these frozen or like bag meals from Aldi. I love Aldi. It's my ride or die. Frozen bag from Aldi. You put it in the skillet, and then I just add some additional protein and extra veggies, and then I bulk like a 3-serving meal up to like a 6-serving meal. So I have it for a few meals after the fact. So frozen meals, I've completely shifted my mindset because I feel like we're always taught fresh is better, but it's also fresh isn't always practical, especially for students. So that's my biggest tip is don't be scared of the frozen or like pre-made meals because it's just like a foundation that you can build on, that you can make more your own. I like to zhuzh it up a little bit, seasonings, cheese, the whole thing.
I think this like week or the weeks leading up to it might also be a time where you have to maybe overshoot your grocery budget a little bit too and think about some of the more convenient things. Like I love to buy the little rice packets that all you have to do is slit them and then microwave them for 90 seconds versus like cooking it on stovetop. Or buying some of the like maybe more expensive like chicken cubes that are like pre-cooked and all you have to do is kind of reheat them in the stove, or like buying a rotisserie chicken that's already cooked, or going to a place that maybe has a deli and you kind of like pick and choose like the protein sources that you don't have time to cook yourself. They're going to be a little bit more expensive than what you would maybe spend in a normal week, but if the other solution is to go order and eat out, like you're probably still going to fall under that mark because that's typically going to be more costly.
Yeah, because I mean, you're looking to go, well, it's cheaper for me to go to Taco Bell, let's say, that's one meal, where it might be a little bit more to go and buy the cube chicken or the pre-cooked whatever, but you can stretch it out longer, and so you're actually saving in the long run. It's that Leah, you said risk reward, but I it's the same idea. I count it as cost benefit is what I'm looking at.
I like that better.
Yeah, and you want to make the most out of your meals.
So you're looking at that cost benefit of, if I do this now, what does it save me later, as opposed to if I do a different option, what do I do now? How does it affect? So it's that balance of figuring out what works for you. And those are great examples of things and a variety of examples of things that you can do when you're meal prepping and how it works for you. And, and with that, you can find something that works for you on your budget, whatever that may be, on your tastes, whatever that may be, on what you have. Well, I have a full kitchen with a full, full stove and and fridge and freezer. Well, I have a hot plate in my dorm. You know, I mean, you can find things that would work for all of that. And so it's a matter of just trial and error. And like you said, Bree, you know, try it in the weeks ahead. I wouldn't try something new the week of finals because you got enough stress already. You don't need to deal with that.
Do that.
Do something familiar that you know, I'm going to like it. I know how to do it. It's easy. I got it done. But
I'm hungry now.
But as prep for finals comes, you know, that extra preparation ahead of time will just make it run smoother on that.
Future you will thank you.
And less is more. Do whatever you already know how to do. Make your life easy.
I think one more thing I wanted to kind of point out too is that we have to remember that food is energy, and a lot of us turn to coffee when we're trying to like stay energized during finals week. And I was behind someone, I think like in Starbucks the other day, not to pick on Starbucks, but I'm pretty sure that the cashier said to them, that'll be $9.84. And I was like, for one coffee? So when you think about the comparison of what you could get at the grocery store, like in comparison to that, like one stop at a coffee shop, coffee can be beneficial for our alertness every once in a while, but it is not a meal. And so we don't want to use it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one more thing before you talk about the cost of it, you know, talking about budget, there are a lot of options in our area to find foods for different prices. There's farmers markets, there's Aldi, there's, you know, grocery stores, there's food pantries. We have one here on campus. And so no matter what your situation is, there's opportunity to find ingredients. And if you have questions about that, you can go back and look in our archive again. We've done one on food pantries, we've done one on food insecurity. We've done one on just finding produce and things like that in the area. And so go back, look, check that out, because there are options for anybody who's listening.
And use the resources we have here on campus. We have 3 different food pantries. If you cannot buy food by yourself, go there. Like we have Wesley, one at the Arc, and one at Parkland College, if I'm not wrong. So use those resources because they are there for us.
And, you know, and using those resources, again, takes stress away because you're not concerned about where am I going to find certain things, or how am I going to get it. The options are there.
And don't be embarrassed to use those resources. That's not the point. I know there's a lot of stigma, but you shouldn't be embarrassed. It's an extra resource that you can use. Mm-hmm.
Well, as always, it seems like the time goes so fast. I appreciate you all coming and sharing on meal prep, because I think this is an opportunity for students to step into something different and really give themselves an advantage heading into the final season, whether it be this fall or any semester whatsoever. It's a great opportunity, and it does help with time management. It helps with a lot of balancing your schedule and things like that. So I really appreciate you all coming in and talking today. Karina, Leah, Bree, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Have a nice day.
Finals is often an opportunity for stress to take over, for it to be something that just overwhelms and is daunting, and things seem to snowball together and just compound on one another at times. But you can take steps. You can do things that will help you succeed, that will help you be put in a position to succeed. And one of those is taking care of your meals, just planning ahead, preparing for it. And meal prepping is a huge part of that. And as we talked about, it could be a freezer meal where you make 6 or 8, throw them in the freezer and wait for them. It could be you make a little extra in dinner and save the leftovers. It could be just planning out every other day you're going to cook. There's a lot of variety in that. So I encourage you to find out more about meal prepping, find out what works for you. If you want to talk to somebody, contact us here at McKinley. I'd be happy to set up a time with our dietitians, have them, they'll work with you one-on-one, give you some tips on things. If you want to ask questions, that's what they're here for. Feel free to reach out and touch base. If you just want to ask questions, if you just want to talk to somebody about the idea, you can reach out to me, reach out to us here at Healthy Illini. We'd love to continue the conversation with you. And we just want to try and walk alongside and see how we can be a support in whatever you're trying to try out in order to succeed when final season rolls around. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.